Gareth, I mean, this is according to, of course, Dr. Imraan Buccus, and of course, he says that if the ANC takes a hit in the November polls and those in the Zuma faction are brought to justice, the already volatile socio-economic situation in the country will worsen. Buccus joins us now to discuss this even further. Doc, thank you for your time and good morning to you. Quite interesting perspective that you point out here, but I'm sure it is the elephant in the room. I mean, the KwaZulu-Natal province, its politics impacting national politics as well. What's your perspective on this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, we often hear people say that in South Africa we have a KZN problem in our politics. Well, it surely is a really significant province, and particularly for the ANC. And this dates back to the founding of the African National Congress, right? Pixley Kaseme and John Dube in the early years. It's home to the leadership like Albert Luthuli. But later on, we know that this province was marred by the political violence of the late 80s, early 90s, particularly between the ANC and eNCA. And the IFP takes hold of the province later on. And all of this changes dramatically when Zuma enters the scene as president in 2009. And we see a dramatic swing in support for the African National Congress. And clearly what's happening now with the Zuma on the back foot and a lot of the people from the Zuma faction on the back foot, I think that's changed our politics significantly. And quite clearly the riots that took place, in July has also affected how people view the ANC. And that recent survey by Ipsos was really interesting, showing that only about 27% of people support the ANC. So this is the province with the most support for the ANC. But with all of the recent happenings, it's clear that that's going to have a dramatic impact on the ANC, even at the national level.
Yeah, I was about to ask that impact, Doc, but more on local government elections. They're upcoming, I mean, the 1st of November being D-Day. How do you think the province's politics will affect elections?
Well, absolutely, I think it will. Local government is what we'd like to think of as a kind of central pivot in our society building exercise. It's a really important pivot. It's a really important sphere of governance. Unfortunately, around the country and in KZN, it's become marred by corruption, and the looting of the public purse is perhaps really serious at local government level. And, with the recent riots, we've also seen that impact on support for the ANC. So I think as we approach local government elections, I won't be surprised if large numbers of people stay away. And if opposition parties benefit, I think significantly from losses that will accrue to the ANC. And I think independent candidates are going to do really well because there's a significant disillusionment with the ANC and with party politics generally, with I think the ANC and DA and even the EFF arguably imploding.
Yeah. I mean, recently when we saw the riots and lootings in between KZN and Gauteng, initially what we saw were more protests of a hashtag Free Zuma campaign. It escalated into a different thing altogether. But initially we saw protests saying they wanted the former president to be obviously released from Escort prison. Now, what's your view on the deeply rooted factions between the Zuma and the Ramaphosa factions, rather, within the province, and how those two will, of course, affect which party, and particularly even the ANC, and how they fare during these elections in the province and nationally?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, this is a province like, I would guess, other provinces too, that's marred by factions. And it's a province that continues to be split between the Zuma and Ramaphosa factions. During the riots, many people were saying that people engaging in the riots were part of the Zuma faction. Quite clearly, that was true in the initial part. But I think what became even clearer later on, that one kind of iteration of the riots was that people were engaging in food riots, and yes, there was political manipulation later on. But this idea that people had all come out in support of Zuma is certainly not true. I think support for the Zuma faction remains within the ANC, not within society. So that's a misnomer to think that within KZN society, there's support for the ANC. A number of those people were in the riots for other reasons. So my huge concern is when we have local government elections and with the politics of patronage being affected and those in the Zuma faction being affected, it seems likely that we might go into modes of politics post-local government elections that don't fit into the democratic mold of politics that we've become accustomed to.
Right. Well, of course, we'll have to leave it then. Thank you so much for this input. Dr. Imraan Buccus, thank you for your time.